If not in Kyrie eleison,
if not isotemeron, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison,
if not isum seron, Kyrie eleison.
In the name of the Father, and Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. My paper titled St. Cyril and the Council of Ephesus. I'm not going to speak about the Council of Ephesus in details because it is a big subject, but my focus is on how St. Cyril, the Bishop of Alexandria, dealt with the Nestorian heresy and the methodology he used to defend the Orthodox faith against this heresy and to lead the Christian world during this difficult time, and to lead the Council of Ephesus in the midst of many difficulties, and to reach at the end to confirm the Orthodox faith and defeat the heresy of Nestorius. So the focus is the leadership of St. Cyril and the methodology he used to lead the ship of the church in the midst of all the storms at that time. When we speak in history, it is important to be oriented where we are in the history. So I take you back to the 5th century and mention some dates to help you be oriented where we are in the map of the history. The Council of Ephesus was held, as you know, in the year 431. St. Cyril was born in the year 378. He was ordained and enthroned as the Bishop of Alexandria and the Patriarch in the year 412, and his patriarchate extended until he rested in the Lord in the year 444. Nestorius, he became the Patriarch of Constantinople in the year 128, and he was deposed and excommunicated in the Council of Ephesus in June 431. Emperor Theodosius II, who called for the council, he became emperor in the year 408 after the death of his father Arcadius, and he was a child, a 7-year-old. And therefore, they appointed a regent, Wasi, which was his sister, Pulcheria. And this woman, she was very influential, and she played a great role, positive and negative, in the history of the Christological controversy extended from the time of St. Cyril until the time of St. Dioscos. So she played a role in a long range of area of history. The controversy started when Nestorius was elected to be the Patriarch of Constantinople. He was the abbot of a monastery near Antioch, and he has been a childhood friend of John of Antioch, and his close friends were Theodoret of Cyrus and Andrew of Samosata. And he was taught in the theological school of Antioch, and among his famous teachers, Theodore of Tarsus, who died in 394, and Theodore of Mopsuestia, who died in the year 428. And he started his episcopate by defending the faith against heresies, against the Arians, against many other heresies which existed in Constantinople. And he was a very ascetic man, very eloquent preacher. But he clashed with Augusta Pulcheria because she used to take communion in the sanctuary. In the Byzantine tradition, the only lay person to be allowed to enter into the sanctuary to take communion was the emperor. And because the emperor, her brother, was a child, 7-year-old, she used to accompany him, and the predecessor of Nestorius allowed her to do so. When Nestorius came, Theodosius was not anymore a child, because we are speaking about 21 years, about 20 years. So he's not a child anymore, but she continued to take communion, and she considered this is privilege was given to her also because of her virginity. But Nestorius prevented her from to do so, and this is one of the reasons why she turned against him. But let us go to the theological dispute, which started related to the title of Holy Virgin Mary Theotokos. And it was a theological dispute between two groups in Constantinople. The monastic group led by Archimandrite Basil and supported by Bishop Proclus, this is one of the bishops who was residing in Constantinople, and against the clergy who came with Nestorius. When Nestorius moved from Antioch, from his monastery to Constantinople, he brought clergy with him. Among them was his chaplain Anastasius. And the clergy of Antioch, or the Antiochian party, if we call them that, they rejected the title of Theotokos, and they proposed that Saint Mary to be called Anthropotos, the mother of the man, not the mother of God. On the other hand, the monastic party and the people of Constantinople, of course, they defended the title Theotokos. When the two parties came to the Patriarch Nestorius to ask for his opinion, he proposed a compromise, and his compromise to call her Christotokos, the mother of Christ. And Nestorius started a series of lectures to explain the right faith in Constantinople as a new patriarch. And the opening lecture was given to his chaplain Anastasius, who chose to start the lecture by attacking those who call Saint Mary Theotokos. And of course, this created a reaction from the beginning, and Bishop Proclus stood and he defended the title Theotokos in the cathedral in the presence of Nestorius, and the people, they were enthusiastic and supportive to Bishop Proclus, which of course this disturbed Nestorius very much, and he started himself to take the lead in explaining the faith and in attacking the title Theotokos. in the year in early 429, Nestorius started his lectures and supporting his chaplain Anastasius. And these lectures were written and distributed. And not only he gave it, but also there are clerks to write, and started to be distributed not only in Constantinople, but also outside Constantinople. And some of these sermons reached Alexandria and started to spread in Alexandria with the information about what's going on in Constantinople, and this is the beginning of the involvement of Saint Cyril in this dispute. Saint Cyril, as a response to this, he wrote his famous letter to the monks, in which he responded to some of the deviation which he saw in the sermons of Nestorius, without mentioning his name and without directing his defense directly to him. But Nestorius, he responded to Saint Cyril letter to the monk, and he also consider what Saint Cyril is writing as kind of interference in the affair of Constantinople. And he also used to act as this, because Constantinople were and claimed to be like the supreme court of appeal in the Christian world, and there were some of the clergy from Alexandria who went to Constantinople have some complaint against their patriarch Saint Cyril, and also some bishops from Rome and from the West who were excommunicated for heresy of Pelagius. So they went also to Constantinople to appeal their cases to the Patriarch of Constantinople. So Nestorius wanted to take advantage of this situation and establish a commission for investigation regarding the cases came from Alexandria and the cases came from the West, just to show his authority in the Christian world, and also to be a way to stop Saint Cyril from attacking or defending against his teaching. Saint Cyril sent his first letter to Nestorius when he mentioned that it was not the aggression from him, but it is because of the Nestorius deviating from the faith, and because also the information came to him, to his jurisdiction. That's why he has had the right to explain the deviation in the teaching of the sermon of Nestorius, because they already reached it to Alexandria and in his area. On the other hand, and this point is very important to show the way of the leadership of Saint Cyril. This happened in the year 429. And in his Paschal letter on the Pascha, the Easter, he explained the singleness of the person of Jesus Christ without mentioning anything about Nestorius. But he spent the winter of 429 and the early of the year 430, Saint Cyril studying very carefully all the sermons of Nestorius, and also preparing a response to this and extensive patristic writing from the Greek fathers like Saint Athanasius and Saint Gregory the theologian, and also from the Latin fathers like Saint Ambrose and Saint Cyprian. And he prepared a dossier, including the writing of Nestorius, his response, and supported with a patristic quotation from the father. The cleverness of St. Cyril here, number one, he didn't rush in responding. He spent months studying very carefully and studying the sermons themselves, the writing of Nestorius. And he prepared a patristic writing to support the right teaching. He did not consider this is a dispute between him and Nestorius. And you will see in his writing, when he defended the title Theotokos, he started by quotation from the Bible when the Saint Mary was called the mother of the Holy One, and he proved that is the title Theotokos was used by many fathers before him, and he gave a list of the fathers who used this title. So he's not inventing something new, but he's just following what his father did and what his father taught. This is a very important thing. And also, he did not limit himself to the Greek world. And he did not limit himself to the quotation and the writing of great Greek fathers like St. Athanasius and Gregory. But for, I can say, sensitivity or whatever you call it, he considered also the Latin fathers. And he put a quotation of St. Cyprian and St. Ambrose. Not only that, of course, the writing of Nestorius were in Greek. He wrote in Greek. But he translated the whole dossier into Latin. So this famous dossier of St. Cyril was originally in Greek, but he did a full translation into Latin. Thirdly, he sent this to the emperor. He sent it to the Celestine, the Bishop of Rome. And of course, he sent a letter, his second letter, to Nestorius to explain his wrong teaching. But also because he understood the politics in the emperor's palace. He sent it also to the main influential people like Augusta Pulcheria. He sent her a copy of this dossier to be informed about the situation. So he prepared himself well by firstly studying and then prepare the response, and also try to involve as many as he can from the people, so everyone to be involved and everyone to be aware.
Notisum seron Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison.
Hypnoticos teron, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie.
When Rome received the dossier of St. Cyril in the Easter of 430, Bishop Celestine, he instructed his Archdeacon Leo. And I want you to take note of these names, because this name will come later on in the Council of Chalcedon. Leo, at that time, he was the Archdeacon of Bishop Celestine. He did not follow him immediately as the Bishop of Rome, but after his successor, he became the Bishop of Rome with his famous tome. And Leo was instructed by his bishop to lead a commission of inquiry to investigate because Nestorius also he sent letter to Bishop Celestine defending himself. So this commission of investigation led by Archdeacon Leo, they asked one of their great theologian, John Cassian. Of course, John Cassian is a famous name. He was the abbot of a monastery of Marseille. So they sent the dossier and the writing to John Cassian to study it and to send a response to the archdeacon to present it to his bishop. So Rome studied the teachings, and then something happened which led Saint Cyril to act quickly and decisively. That is, in the Cathedral of Constantinople, there was a guest bishop who gave a sermon. And this sermon, he not only attacked the title Theotokos, but he anathematized those who called Saint Mary Theotokos from the pulpit of the cathedral. And after the sermon, he entered, and this happened in the presence of Nestorius, the patriarch. And after that, they continued the liturgy, and he allowed him to take communion with him. So we have now a case when the one who anathematized, who say Theotokos, and allowed to take communion with the Patriarch of Constantinople. So Saint Cyril, he found that is we are reaching a very serious situation, and action should be done to correct this. How the Patriarch of Constantinople allow a bishop who anathematize, who say, call Saint Mary Theotokos to take communion. On the other hand, Nestorius started to prepare himself for this. So he sent a petition to Emperor Theodosius asking him to call for international synod of theologians. They were expert theologians from every province of the Christian world at that time to gather to debate these differences regarding calling Saint Mary Theotokos. And the emperor accepted the idea. But what was in the mind of Nestorius is not ecumenical council. What was in his mind, that is to have a limited gathering of theologians to gather in Constantinople. So he will preside on this meeting. And also he thought it could be a good chance for him to try Saint Cyril, according to the accusation which some of his clergy did. So Saint Cyril, he sent his second letter to Nestorius, and this famous dogmatic letter in which he started by asking him not to hear about the rumors and about these people who are gathered around him. And then he explained the faith, especially the hypostatic union, in very clear and very strong way. So in August 400, now we are in year 430. In August 11th of this year, the synod was held in Rome after they studied, and they condemned Nestorius and excommunicated him. And Bishop Celestine sent to Saint Cyril and asking him to act also on behalf of Rome regarding this issue. Of course, some of the Catholic historians consider this as Saint Cyril was assigned by Bishop Celestine, the Bishop of Rome, to act, which is not true when you read it thoroughly. Actually, Saint Cyril was taking the lead, and Rome, of course, trusted him. Saint Bishop Celestine trusted him to lead in defending the faith. And in November of 430, Emperor Theodosius formally announced his final approval to call for an ecumenical council to consider the whole issue of the Nestorian controversy. But he decided this council to be held on the Pentecost of 431, which was June 7th, and to be held in Ephesus, which not the things Nestorius hoped to have. So calling for ecumenical council, so all the bishops to come and to meet in Ephesus, not in Constantinople, and in the Pentecost of 431, was at that year 7th. And he appointed Count Candidin to be the head of the imperial palace guard to represent the emperor and to supervise the proceeding of the council and to keep good order in the city of Ephesus. And the emperor instructed him to be neutral, but it ended that his Count Candidin was very biased to Nestorius. And in November, in the same month, St. Cyril called for a synod in Alexandria, where the bishops, his bishops, met, and they condemned and excommunicated Nestorius. And he sent his third letter to Nestorius with a delegation from the bishop of from Alexandria to Nestorius to inform him about the decision of the Synod of Alexandria excommunicating him. And this famous letter, the third letter, was appendixed by the famous 12 anathema, the famous 12 anathema of Saint Cyril. So now we have, by the end of the year 430, Nestorius was condemned by two synods, the Rome in August, and Alexandria in November, and the emperor, he called for a council to be held in the Pentecost of 431. Then we will, so this is show us how St. Cyril prepared himself and prepared the Christian world to the dispute of the battle, this theological battle with Nestorius and his supporters.
If not in Serapion.